And so there are three ways in which we can traverse. And by traversing, we mean visit every node that is part of the binary tree. And these methods are called the in-order, the pre-order, and the post-order methods. You'll notice that in all cases, visiting the left subtree happens before the right subtree. There are no cases which R shows up before L. The V, you can consider that when we actually process a particular node. So in the case of in-order traversal, we will visit the left subtree and then visit the node. But we do this recursively at every level of the tree. And therefore, we will get different behaviors from applying these three methods. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So let's consider the binary tree on the left. This does in fact have the binary search tree property, in the sense that everything to the left of any given node is less than the value at the node, and anything that is greater than the value at that node is in the right subtree. So to begin traversing, we will start at the root, which is value 31, and we will immediately descend to the left subtree. And once we get to that particular, and so now we're at this level. And once we get here, we must go to the left subtree. Again, you'll remember that the order is left, then visit the actual node, then the right subtree. And so we were at the root, and we went to the left subtree, and we were at 19. We go to the left subtree. Okay, we're at 7. We still have not processed the node 7. We will visit the left subtree for 7, which is null. At this point, we have executed the L, right? The traversal to the left subtree for node 7. At that point, since it's null, we will backtrack to the actual node and we will visit the node. And visiting the node is when we actually output it. So we output the 7. And having visited the left side and having visited the node, we will now traverse to the right side. Well, the right side is null, and so it backtracks to the node. I've gone left, I've visited the node, and I have gone right. So now I backtrack to the 19. Well, what have I done at 19? At 19, what I've done so far is to visit the left subtree. So I must now visit the node itself. And so I output the value 19. And having visited the left subtree and having visited the node itself, I now traverse down to the right subtree, which is null in this case. So I backtrack to the node and I have gone left, I visited the node and I have gone right, and I backtrack to the previous node. What have I done at node 31? Well, at this point, I have visited the left subtree fully. I am now going to visit the node, right? I'm going to execute the V here. Visiting the node is outputting this 31. Okay, so I output the 31. And I then have to, having visited the left subtree and having visited the node, the next thing I do is to visit the right subtree, okay? And so I come down to this node. But now look, now I'm at, this is a brand new day, right? I'm recursively reaching this node. What must I do at this point? I must traverse to the left subtree. And so I don't output the 59. I come down to the 43. And I don't output the 43 yet. I have to traverse to the 43's left child, which is null. And so I do that and I backtrack back. So I've now visited the left subtree of 43. I now output 43. Okay, I visit 43 and output it. And having visited the left and visited the node itself, I will traverse down to the right subtree, which is in fact null. So I output nothing. I backtrack to this point, and having gone left and visited the node and gone right, I now backtrack to node 59. What have I done at this point? I have visited the left subtree, so I must now visit the node itself. Okay, and so I output 59, and having visited the left subtree and visited the node itself, I now must travel down to the right subtree. It is null. So I travel down there, I backtrack here, and I return, having done the left and the node and the right, I backtrack to this point, to the root, and now I have traversed left, I have visited the node, and I have traversed right. And at this point, the algorithm is over. And I have traversed in order for this particular tree. Okay. Now let's look at what post-order traversal, pre-order traversal looks like. And so pre-order traversal says that we will visit the node first, then we will traverse to the left subtree, and then we will traverse to the right subtree. So at every point, while we recursively travel through these nodes, we will execute this order. So I begin at the root, and I immediately visit the root, and I output 31. You notice that the V comes first in this case, so I'm visiting. And at that point, I traverse to the left subtree, right? So I'm here. I just did this step. I will now do the left subtree. Well, once I get there, I immediately visit the node, meaning I output 19. And then I traverse to the left subtree of 19. New day, I've just reached this particular level. I immediately visit the node, so I output the 7. And now I have visited the node, so I must go left. I go left, there's nothing there. I backtrack, I go right. That pointer is null, so I backtrack. And now for this particular node, I have visited the node, gone left, and gone right. And so now I backtrack to this point. Well, I've already visited 19 and I've gone down the left subtree. And so now I travel down to the right subtree. Well, that is null. So I backtrack back here. And at this point, I have visited, I've gone left, and I've gone right. And so I backtrack to this point. I have visited the node. I have gone left. I have not yet gone right, and so at this point, I go right. I immediately have to visit the node, so I output the 59. And I must travel left. I get to this node, it's a brand new day. I immediately visit 43 and output its value. And then I travel down to the left subtree, there's nothing there. I backtrack, now I have visited and I have gone left, so let's go right. We go right. That pointer is null, so I backtrack and I'm back here, and I've visited, gone left, and gone right. And so I backtrack to the 59. What have I done at this point? I have visited 59 and I have visited its left subtree, so that forces me to visit the right subtree. There's nothing there. So I backtrack to this point, and I have now visited, gone left, and gone right. And so I backtrack to the root. I have visited the root. I have visited the root's left subtree, and I visited the root's right subtree. And I've backtracked, and at this point, the pre-order traversal is complete. Okay. All right, one last, so you're getting the feel for this, but the one last traversal is a post-order traversal. And post order says that we go left first, then we go right, and then we visit the node. Okay, so I enter the route, and it's a brand new day, so I immediately go left. I get to the 19, and it's a brand new day, so I immediately go left. I get to the 7, okay, nothing is happening there yet, okay, because I still have to travel down 7's left subtree. I do so, and that's null, and I get back to the 7. Okay, I must now go down to the right subtree, and I do that, and that is null, and I backtrack to the 7. Now, having visited left and having visited right, I will now visit the 7 by outputting it. And having visited left and right and the node itself, I backtrack to the 19. What have I done at the 19? I have visited the left subtree. So the next step is to visit the right subtree. And I visit the right subtree, but there is nothing there. It's null. So it unwinds back to this node. And what have I done? I visited the left subtree. I visited the right subtree. I now visit the node itself. And so I output the 19. And the recursion unwinds to the root. What have I done at the root? Well, what I've done so far is visit the left subtree of the root. So post order traversal calls for me to visit the right subtree. So I visit this particular node, and when I get here, I must immediately visit the left subtree. And so now I'm down in this 43. And then from there, I must visit the left subtree, and I do so, and that's null. So the recursion unwinds back to this point. And what have I done at this point? I visited left. I must now visit right, and I do so, and that's null, and that unwinds, backtracks to this point, and I'll finally visit the node itself. So I output the 43. And the recursion unwinds to node 59. What have I done for 59? I have visited the left subtree. I must now visit the right subtree. I do so. Recursion unwinds back to 59. I visited left. I visited right. I now visit the node itself. I output it. And finally, having gone left and right and visited the node, I backtrack to the root node. I have gone to the left and I've gone to the right. I must now visit the node itself, and so I output 31. And you notice that at this point, having gone left, gone right, and visited the node, the algorithm terminates. And you notice that in all of these cases, the output from these particular traversal methods is different.